Hello, my loves. I'm so happy to be back in front of the camera. Oh, yay. Your girl was going through it. But I just want to get straight to the point. If you're new here, hi, my name is Odemi Pessu, and I'm a founder, an artist, an author. And basically, this YouTube channel was really just kind of a space for me to share my work. And I use past tense because I am feeling a bit of a shift, a bit of a higher calling, so to speak, because we need community and we need intentional community. And I've been meditating on a lot lately. I recently deactivated my TikTok, and it had me thinking about the digital spaces we inhabit and the conversations we engage in, the aesthetics we adopt. Just, I'm a thinker, okay? I like philosophy. I like understanding and asking why. Why do we do this? Why do I believe this? And I think that consistent interrogation is an integral part of decolonization of mind, body, and spirit, especially in a panoptic society where we're in a state of consistent and constant surveillance. It always kind of feels like, oh, someone's judging me if I do this, if I do that. And so I don't like that. I don't like that feeling of, restriction, especially as it pertains to my creative expression. So I decided to cut out the noise of TikTok and really go deep. As I was in recovery from an injury, I was like, okay, what do I actually care about? And how do I want to go about that? And how can I link it to my business? I think at the crux of it all is the courage to be misunderstood and daring to be different in a world that really wants us to conform. I think growing up, I was definitely on my hipster type shit. Like I was really kind of, I don't know, like I kind of floated around different friend groups. Like when I look back at high school and look back at college, I don't think I could really be defined by one box. Like I did musical theater, I did fashion club, I did marketing club, I did model UN, I did so many different types of things. And so I think it's always been tough for me to try to put myself in a box. And I remember I got so overwhelmed with this feeling of not really fitting in, especially now that I'm a grown up-ish. Not too much on me though. I'm not old, but I am grown. And, as you approach a different decade of your life, like when I look back at 21 and I look back at 22 and the sense of self-discovery that I engaged with, moving straight to New York after college, and then the pandemic happened, while I was in grad school, and then I moved to California, and I've lived in so many different places. I've been through so many different life experiences that have taught me about myself. And I think it sometimes makes it hard to try to condense that into, oh, I am this one thing. And I literally was like, is being a gifted person neurodivergence? Because I was like, I feel like it's me and then normies. Shout out to those of us who love watching Wednesday, okay? Because I really feel like, artists and sensitive people and intellectually gifted people and intellectually curious people, like, if you were in the gifted program growing up, you kind of know what I'm talking about. Like they would literally put us in separate classes. And as I'm older, I realized, oh, they want us to sedate what we were raised to believe was special about us. And I don't like that. I really do not like that. It's almost like these dichotomies that we've adopted as a society, especially as it pertains to women. It's like you can either be really smart or you can be, beautiful and into your aesthetics. And I recently watched an interview with Chimamanda Adichie where she was talking about how it was very unnerving for her to experience how in the West, especially in the US, in academic circles, it was seen that, you know, in order to perceive a woman as taking herself seriously, she did not partake in makeup, or like she had to look frumpy. And I've experienced that as well, you know, like trying to be taken serious in academic spaces. I remember when I was in graduate school at Brown, I would go into spaces. I'm always gonna look cute. Okay, your girl is a former pageant queen. Like, I'm always going to show up in my best light. And I like makeup, I like fashion, I like beauty. Hello, I'm a fashion designer. Like, I love that stuff. But I'm also an intellectual. I'm also a creative thinker. I'm also someone who is really committed to pushing the confines and pushing the limitations that society tries to place on my mind and on my spirit. Like, I like to challenge that. And so over the last few weeks, I've been pondering, how can I infuse this? Because my next book is not going to come out until next year. But I was like, there's a gap that needs to be filled. There are so many young women, especially African women across the African diaspora, who are navigating questions of identity and who have critical observations of the world that we live in, but there's not really a space to engage with that with like-minded women, and with women who are also sensitive, and women who are also artists and intellectuals. And so I am launching a magazine. Yeah. It's coming out this fall, ideally by the end of October. I'm also relaunching my website because I'm adding some new apparel, more casual apparel, to kind of go along with my artwork. It is gonna be art infused. Like, I've literally been painting the product patterns, the designs that are going on the apparel, and it's just really cool, you know, and I'm excited to put that out. And back to the magazine, it's going to really be a literary oasis for women who dare to be misunderstood, and women who, you know, dare to kind of like rebel, not even kind of, who dare to rebel against this patriarchal spell that society likes to place on women, this subjugation of our mental sovereignty, our spiritual sovereignty, our unbridled expression, creative expression, our sensuality. Like, I'm so over trying to filter the work that I put out through this narrow lane, and like, it's not gonna fit, you know? And the other day I was also thinking about how so much of creativity and the creative world is filtered through this white gaze, and the white gaze is deeply tied to this colonial voyeuristic state of, you know, always putting myself as the other, and kind of having to engage with the external world from this lens of, this is what is deemed as normal, whiteness and maleness, but mostly whiteness. And then it's like, you become aestheticized as a Black woman or as an African woman. And I'm just like, I am just who I am. And I happen to be Nigerian, but I also happen to be American. I also happen to be a Black American. And I think that, you know, there's not a lot of room for and. It's always this or that in, you know, this society that we live in that is filtered endlessly through this white colonial gaze. And if that's going over your head, baby, just go ahead and, you know, subscribe to this channel, because we're gonna have these conversations. I did not go to Brown so I can lose my critical thinking to go viral on TikTok. Like, I'm very much so okay with having a steady community of people who get it. I don't really care too much to fit into this aesthetic of what it means to be Black girl luxury, because I think that when I, you know, think about my brand, which is a luxury lifestyle brand, and what is perceived as luxury, I think luxury to me is freedom. And honestly, I don't think freedom should be a luxury, but in this day and age, it really is. And I think freedom to think, freedom to ponder. There's a reason why class and literacy have always been tied together. And now we're seeing a society and trends that are literally attacking intellectualism, especially in Black communities and especially in communities of women, and it's just so much, and as an artist, as a writer, even as a founder, I just feel this sense of, I don't know, it's more of like a calling, because I don't think that all art has to be political, but I think in this day and age where identity has been made, it's been rendered political, like inherently political, like just me existing as a free and, sovereign Nigerian American woman artist who dares to kind of redefine how I engage with capitalism and how I can infuse a conscious element into it, that is resistance. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it, and so it's like, I just want to be a safe haven for the women who want to rebel, for the African girls who never fit in, okay? Because even when I was like part of like certain friend groups and stuff, I just always felt like, okay, I'm not gonna pretend. And I think that's why sometimes I just was never able to really mesh well with like cliques or like groups, because it's like you have to conform. And I'm not saying I'm a lone wolf per se, but I will say this, that the artist journey can be lonely. Like, I recently saw my cousin on this, I think it's called the Jaded Forum, and my cousin's Yadoye Travis, and he's a cool like comedian and he does cool stuff. And I remember watching that, I was like, wait, yo, like that's my cousin, like. But they were talking about how there's this overconsumption of Black excellence, and I really resonated with that conversation, because it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but I'm gonna try. There's this push in, at least like for Black Americans, where you have to strive to this greatness and all of that. And it's always filtered through this white gaze, this understanding of greatness as it pertains to what, whiteness as an institution tells us is something to be celebrated. Like, did you climb these corporate ladders? Did you, even as an artist, did you get into this certain gallery? And that's another thing that I'm shifting with my business. I kind of drank the Kool-Aid of the art world, especially when I was more so focused on doing gallery shows, which now that I've done that, and then even had to now sue one gallery for messing up my artwork, and I won. But like, even going through that whole ordeal and just like engaging with this world that wants you to value yourself based off of exclusivity and scarcity. And I'm like, actually, I want a lot of people to own my artwork. I don't want only one person to own this really pricey original. And I thought that that was the only way to be an artist. And now I'm like, you know what? I want to kind of go back to how I was in the beginning, where my artwork, now for some people it may not be affordable, but to me, I'm like, yeah, I spend that much on a nice bag, like a nice designer bag. I spend that much on some nice shoes, but I view every purchase as an investment. So the type of person I am and the type of people that my early collectors are, they are people who are like, yeah, I like this work of art, I'm gonna pay $600 for that. I like this work of art, I'm gonna pay $300 for that, as opposed to going on a spree in Sephora or, whatever have you. And I think that like even navigating that push and pull internally, where I'm like, okay, am I a real artist if I have a more commercial approach? Am I a real artist if, my artwork is easily accessible, or easily accessible because, it's still a luxury for many, but I really had to have these conversations with myself, and I just want to be able to create community, and I want people to find solace in what I do and what I create and what I write. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about the magazine launching ideally end of next month. I'll check back in. I'll check back in and let y'all know. But yeah, like Libra season is when I do my best things because it's my birthday season. Yeah, your girl is a Libra through and through. Libra sun, Libra moon, okay? I think harmony and balance is definitely really important to me. And I've kind of struck this internal balance of like, okay, I know now how to engage with my creativity, but also I'm aware that in this society, your girl gotta eat. I have to pay for certain things. I have to pay for certain services. So I've struck this balance of like how to commercially engage with my artwork while still keeping it true and authentic to me. And it's a journey, it really is, but I do want to be more forthcoming on this channel. I don't know, man, I just be sharing stuff with y'all, like, and I've put that in my description that yes, I am sharing gems from this journey as a creative CEO, but also romantic rebel, because I'm a lover girl, but I'm also a rebel. Like, I don't believe I need to conform. And being a child of immigrants, being a third culture kid, which I just learned that term, and I'm like, yes, you know, not feeling Black American enough, but not feeling Nigerian enough. And then add on top of that, I have an unconventional career, and I'm just like, y'all don't know Bell Hooks, y'all don't know Alice Walker, like, they did it, how come I can't, you know? But I can. But it's like, for me, when I see that pushback in my communities, it's just like, not everybody is meant to be someone climbing the corporate ladder. And I think that's cool. I tried. Your girl has 9 years of corporate experience. Like, I tried my best, and I just was like, I'm not going to shrink myself to fit into this box when I know I can do more. And that's the more that I'm leaning into. And today I went to a coffee shop and I wrote some stuff for my magazine. I like worked on my designs for the t-shirts and the tote bags and all of that. And I'm just like, yo, this is so fun. And I know it's going to be a symbol of community. Like, I'm infusing Yoruba culture and Nigerian spirituality and like indigenous spirituality into the messaging that is, you know, blatantly there on the t-shirts. And I think that's really important, because going back to challenging the white gaze in my creativity and just the subconscious ways in which I internalize that gaze as it pertains to what I create, I want to see my culture reflected in what I wear. And I hope that when young women, old women, everybody, all ages, when y'all buy these shirts and these tote bags and everything, and it says Irawo or it says Orisha, like, I hope that it can signal, hey, you know what, this is who I am, these are my values, like, this is what I believe in, this is the culture that, you know, I grew up in. And it can signal to somebody else, like, hey, yo, like, I can talk to her, I can go and say hi, you know, we're similar, you know, in a space where people just feel so lonely and don't feel understood. I want my brand to be a symbol of belonging for those of us who have never really fit in. And I have a really great anecdote that literally proves this point, and then I'm gonna go. But I have a tattoo that says Orisha on my like thigh. It's like in the middle of my thigh. And I went to church the other day and I had on a dress. And you know, the dress it wasn't short too, it was not short, but you know, when you sit down, you kind of think it's like, oh, it's kind of going up a little bit. So I was trying to hide the tattoo because I'm already tatted. And the church I went to, I was like, oh, y'all a little conservative here. But there's this other church I go to where I feel like the aesthetics match me and we're all worshiping. But anyways, I digress. So I have this tattoo, and the lady next to me, she was like, are you Ishikiri? And that's my dad's tribe. So yeah, I am Ishikiri and Ijaw, but my name is Ishikiri. And like, y'all know the patriarchy, you identify with your dad's tribe. yada yada yada. But anyway, she goes, "Are you Ishikiri?" And I was like, "Yeah, are you?" And she was like, "I saw your tattoo Orisha." And I was like, "Oh my god, I was trying to cover it." And she was like, no, it's so cute." She was like, "My daughter's name starts with Orisha. I'm Ishikiri too." And literally, I never meet Ishikiri people. Like, I seldom meet Ishikiri people, especially since I have not been to like the conventions and the meetups that I used to go to as a child. Like, my parents, well, mostly my dad, would insist that we go to these Ishikiri meetups, and there were like all these associations, and I was very plugged into that scene when I was younger. And now as an adult, I'm like, yo, where are these? Like, how come younger people are not really like creating these spaces where we can come together and like engage with our culture and, you know, all of that. I will say, actually, Igbo people, what is it called? Igbo. There's an Igbo association that is really active in Atlanta, and like they have chapters all over the nation, and like they be doing it, you know. And I feel like I really admire how Igbo people are able to involve young people in preserving the culture, and I like really want to do that with Ishikiri and Ija culture. So hit me up down in the comments, like, are you Ishikiri? Are you Ija? Like, let's talk about it. But anyways, that proved to me that, okay, words, symbols, art, even our tattoos can kind of signal, hey, I belong to this community. Are you a part of that community? Let's be friends. And it reminds me of like the bands that I loved growing up. You know, I would go to all these concerts, MGMT, Hot Shell Ray, The Script. You know, I would see all these bands in high school, and I would obviously get the band t-shirt and wear it to school. And I remember at the time, MGMT, like, it wasn't, I mean, I guess it was kind of indie. I told y'all, I was on my hipster things growing up. And so it's not like there were that many Black people I knew who were listening to MGMT. But I would wear the t-shirt, and I would be able to signal, hey, like, if you like this band too, and you don't know anybody else who likes the band, hey, yeah, let's talk about it. So yeah, I kind of want it to be like that, you know, all these subcultures and things like that, that a lot of us who didn't really fit into mainstream norms, that we found community and solace in. I'm trying to reinvoke that sentiment through my brand. We'll be launching a Tumblr because Mark Zuckerberg, Instagram, I'm not feeling it. I have not posted on Instagram in a minute. Like, every time I try to force myself, I'm just like, this is too panoptic for me. I'm good. But amongst other things. So yeah, we'll be posting a Tumblr, and I think it'll just be a great place for me to, you know, put snippets of what I'm writing, put, you know, the mood boards that are inspiring me, put inspo, like, it can just be the vibe of what Alaere is, what Alaere lifestyle is, and y'all can enter that world a bit more deeply on Tumblr. So yeah, we'll be launching that this month. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, I don't know, but I do always want to, you know, be influential in a way that can bring love and light, in a way that can inspire other young women and let them know, like, you are amazing as you are, okay? Like, you don't need to change what makes you special in order to fit in. You don't need to sequester your beauty or your brains. You can be both. You can be so much more than what society tells us that we can be. And I don't know, I feel very strongly about that. And I have my reasons, okay? Like, I have my reasons. I have, you know, seeing what happens when people don't feel understood. When I was younger, like, having friends who decided to remove themselves from this world, that really deeply impacted me at a young age. Like, wow, my friend felt that alone, that they didn't want to be here anymore. And a lot of people feel like that. A lot of young African girls, young Black women feel like that, but they don't have anywhere to turn to where they can feel seen, where they can feel loved. And I just want you to know, if you're watching this, I love you, I see you, and you don't have to like fit yourself into these aesthetics, I'm here. Okay, and we can talk, we can have these conversations. I know for me, like when I was going through what I was going through when I was younger, it was writing, it was, you know, reading Americana by Chimamanda Adichie, where I felt, wow, oh my gosh, like this is the first time I've seen myself in a story, I've seen myself in writing. And so I really think that the Alaere Manifesto, that's the name of the magazine, it's gonna really, I pray that it will really help young women who need it, who need that sense of belonging, that sense of community, that sense of, okay, someone out there gets me. Yeah, so thanks for watching this video. Oh my gosh, wait, this is like longer than I thought it was gonna be, so cut the cameras, okay? And I will talk to y'all soon. Mwah! I love ya. Bye.